Hey guys, it's Avondale, and welcome back to the Noxcrew Gameshow recording server. I'm on here again to talk to you guys about the API that I use to run the Noxcrew Gameshow Season 1, and pretty much every Noxcrew Gameshow project here on out in the future. So today we're going to talk about things that I do either during games or before games to affect the players. Basically, I wanted to take some of the things that ran the games and bring them to the spawn chunk where I could. Because by doing that, I was able to reuse a bunch of things for games that repeat themselves. A good example of that is Blocksketball. We've made about 4 versions of that game, or sort of your factory castle type games where you need us just to know when the teams are done being alive. So the first thing I'm going to tell you about today is the Blocksketball mechanic over here. And really, this Blocksketball thing, it only serves 2 purposes, right? I needed to mimic the plugin that we used in EP6 of the pilot season to be able to get a block put on the player's head. And that's something that you can do with commands, but making sure that it works only when they have the ball turned out to be a little tricky, but that's one of the things that this clock does here. So we'll take a look at here. I'm just trying to clear a yellow player, and it's a specific yellow player, right? They have a player score of 3 here. That's one of the objectives that I use to keep track of which player you are. So it's checking for exactly yellow player 3. It's trying to clear stained hardened clay with data value 1 from them, but it's only trying to clear 0 blocks of it, so it's not actually going to take that away. And what that means is that I'm going to get a positive out of this comparator from this command block if the player 3 on the yellow team is actually holding an orange block of stained hardened clay. Now I can do a bunch of stuff with that information, including actually get the thing on their head, and that's exactly what I do. So when I get the positive here, it goes through this block into here, and you can see here I'm just replacing the item on the entity, same exact thing, the yellow player. I'm taking their armor slot, which is their head armor slot, I should say, and I'm replacing it with 1 block of orange wool. And the reason I had to use orange wool and not orange stained clay is because if I was trying to check to see if they had the block, they would still have it because it would be in their inventory on their head slot, and it would never clear. That was the way I wanted to do it at first, but that's why it's orange wool instead of the actual ball that they play with. And then I need an inverted signal for when they actually end up dropping the ball, and that's what comes up here. It just puts their helmet back on them, so it replaces it with their team's color of armor. Pretty simple. The only difference for this one is player 2 and then player 1 over here, and then it's mirrored to the other side with blue team stuff on it. Great, that's pretty simple. I'll just mention the other thing attached to this clock is the whistle, which I explained a little bit in the Blocksketball episode, but I'll just go over it again real quick. I'm setting my score of the Blocksketball whistle scoreboard objective to 1, but only if my inventory shows that I have iron boots in slot 100B, which is the foot slot in your armor. I don't know why they refer to it in different ways with a number here and with slot.armor. whatever in the other thing, but I guess that's why I don't work for Mojang, right? So anyways, after that I execute on myself if I have that whistle command, that whistle scoreboard objective of at least 1, and then I play the whistle sound to everybody from where I was at a very loud volume, and then everybody can hear it. Great, that's easy. Right after that, I'm continuously spamming my feet with air, and then I'm setting my whistle score back to 0 no matter what happened. And the nice thing about the way that Minecraft works is when you're in creative mode, which I am while I'm filming that, if I just turn this on real quick and take the iron boots, you'll notice that it continuously gives me the iron boots back anyways. And that's just because when you're in creative mode, it doesn't actually take them off your feet, right? So if I stop this clock and I try to broadcast myself again, hit F5 here so we're looking at me, you can see that when I put these on my feet, it leaves them in my hand as well, because that's the way creative mode works. So yeah, I never had to worry about giving myself another pair of boots because it was always getting reset by the game itself. Alright, so we've talked about that. Let's move on over here. Just keep it right on chugging. We're going to go over to this thing right here, which is my factory castle type of deal. And there's an initialization for this thing that has to happen first, right? So when I pull this over, it's going... This is the start for this entire contraption. Literally all this is doing is just checking to see when everybody's dead on a team. I use it for castle and factory, as well as city, which some of you guys are already familiar with. So when I initialize it, I put their slayer deaths, it's just an objective, to 0. I make sure to hide their name tags for other teams, so they can't see where each other is. And then I set that block to air, which is this block right over here. That starts this clock running right here, right? And now this clock is doing a couple different things. It's trying to clear everyone who has already died. You know, their score in slayer deaths is 1. It's trying to clear them of a bow, it's trying to clear them of an arrow, and it's trying to clear them of an iron sword. Great. So complicated. Now it's checking over here to see if that slayer deaths count is at least 1 for each player. And the slayer deaths objective is actually not a dummy objective, it's updated by Minecraft's death count, which unfortunately only increments when you actually respawn, and that's why at the end of some of those games there was a little bit of delay before it shows who won. So anyways, it goes through here. When this triggers on here, the torches on top represent an AND gate, so it's looking for all 3 of these torches to be off for the result to happen. And then over here, it's just doing a couple things. It's telling, Job is telling the people in the game who's still alive, right? Nobody's still alive right now, so that's why it says are still alive and nothing else. I have no players on but me. And then it's just gonna play the thunder sound to everyone. Pretty simple, really. That's a teleport back to the game I was using. I believe this right here is just gonna trigger the remote win condition, which is over there, but I'll actually talk about that in the next episode. After that, it's just gonna reset everything else, right? It's gonna make it so you can see the name tags right after the game's over. It's gonna shut that clock off. It's gonna clear all the winners of all their equipment as well, and then it's done. Game over. Pretty simple, really, but it's nice to have this in the spawn chunk because it means I can reuse it instead of having to copy it over or remake it every time we make a new one of those games. Alright, so we've talked about these 2 things here for games. Those are both pretty simple. The last thing I want to show you, though, is quite a bit more complicated than that. It's ChickenBombGuy, which if you guys have watched streams recently, you're probably familiar with already. However, if you're not familiar with it, I don't actually think I'm going to show it to you, because I want you to see it when it's actually played, either on the game show or on a stream. So we'll leave it at that for now. But I wanted to just sort of talk about how it works. It's a lobster helper, right? So it's pretty similar to what we've seen before from lobster helpers on my channel. Basically, you have your animations that get done here. I do some chicken spawning magic on the clock. It's a presentation, right? And the important thing about presenting is that you're not really letting Minecraft do anything for you. You're just telling it to do everything and letting it happen. So when I spawn ChickenBombGuy, it puts a redstone block here, and it gives me the block that I need to spawn him wherever I want in the world. It puts a redstone block there to start that clock, and it changes some game rules just to make sure that everything's gonna work right. So then this clock over here is literally just trying to shut itself off, right? As soon as it finds that I've right-clicked with my chicken egg to start ChickenBombGuy, it's going to shut itself off by putting a redstone block here. And what that's going to do is summon the actual armor stand that is ChickenBombGuy, right? So that's what this command does. He has a UUID as well, so I can refer to him easier. And then it's going to clear the spawn egg from me and kill the chicken that I used to spawn him. Then Job starts talking. It plays the Chicken Bomb song, gives all your chat messages. You continue over here. This is the explosion where he appears, and if I can click the right thing, you'll see here that I'm actually applying all of my stuff to the armor stand. So I've summoned a shell of an armor stand over here with nothing on it, and then I apply everything else to it here. And then it just keeps on going, right? It gives everybody the sword that they need. It says get ready. It plays the other game show song. It sets a block over there that basically starts ChickenBombGuy jumping around, and it starts spawning chickens and everything. Then we get over to here. That's where it stops spawning the chickens, and this right here is where it releases them so they fall. Then it gives you your standard 3, 2, 1, go. It does the explosion animations. Everything else is really quite simple. And then I used the stupidly long timer here because I was lazy. I've yet to find out if that was a good idea or not, but it doesn't seem to lag, so I'm really okay with it. And yeah, then it just does all the in-game logic. You'll see over here it's going to say 3, 2, 1, time's up. And that's when it kills all the remaining chickens, clears your swords away, shuts off another one of the clocks over there. And now it's just going to start doing the winning stuff, right? It summons an armor stand that it needs to be able to do the math, and this is just like the scoreboard from before. So it's trying to see who's actually won. It's setting the result to 0 there. We're adding blue's score to that armor stand's score, and then we're subtracting yellow's score. And then it's going to say calculating, but really it already knows who won. And that's when it filters through over here. You'll see the last time that we played that, the winner in here, I believe, whoopsies. Oh, such fingers. So it was a positive score here, so that means the blue team won the last time we played. And you'll see here it's an aqua, blue team won the chicken bomb. Really quite simple. It's just a bunch of stuff that I've done before, reused in a pretty cool way. And it's a great thing to have in the API because it's flexible, right? I can use it anywhere in the world that I want because it spawns on a chicken that I summon wherever I want. And things that work like that make the game show feel alive. You know, they make things happen where we need them to, when we need them to. And it's some of my favorite work that I ever do with Redstone is when I get to do stuff like Chicken Bomb. Alright, so today we've learned a little bit about the Blocksketball machine, the Castle Factory machine back there, and then ChickenBombGuy as well. If you haven't seen ChickenBombGuy yet, I'm so sorry, but you'll see him eventually. He's really great. That's about all I have to say about him. If you guys had any questions about any of these 3 things I talked about here, make sure to leave them in the comments, as always, and I'll make sure to check them and answer the ones that I can. So I hope you'll join me next time when I wrap up my series on the API of the Noxcrew Game Show by talking about the remote winners down there, and also what happens when I return everybody back to the hub. I've been Avondale. Thanks for watching. Keep track of which player you are. So it's checking for exactly yellow player 3. It's trying to clear stained hardened clay with data value 1 from them, but it's only trying to clear 0 blocks of it, so it's not actually going to take that away. And what that means is that I'm going to get a positive out of this comparator from this command block if the player 3 on the yellow team is actually holding. Hey guys, it's Avondale, and welcome back to the Noxcrew Game Show recording server. I'm on here again to talk to you guys about the API that I use to run the Noxcrew Game Show Season 1, and pretty much every Noxcrew Game Show project here on out in the future. So today we're going to talk about type games where you need us just to know when the teams are done being alive. So the first thing I'm going to tell you about today is the Blocksketball mechanic over here. And really this Blocksketball thing, it only serves 2 purposes, right? I needed to mimic the plugin that we used in EP6 of the pilot season to be able to get a block put on the player's head. And that's something that you can do with commands, but making sure that it works only when they have the ball turned out to be a little tricky, but that's one of the things that this clock does here. So we'll take a look at here. I'm just trying to clear a yellow player, and it's a specific yellow player, right? They have a player score of 3 here. That's one of the objectives that I use. Things that I do either during games or before games to affect the players. basically, I wanted to take some of the things that ran the games and bring them to the spawn chunk where I could. Because by doing that, I was able to reuse a bunch of things for games that repeat themselves. A good example of that is Blocksketball. We've made about 4 versions of that game, or sort of your factory castle.